This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Probably one of the most horrific attacks. I can't believe she's alive.
Yeah, you heard it there. That woman is in disbelief as her friend is in the hospital after being attacked by a pack of dogs. We have more on reaction coming up at 6:30.
Hundreds of acres of land is scorched in northern Wasco County near Mosier after a fire broke out. We'll show you the damage and what's happening now.
We're also sharing this video out of Yellowstone National Park. Have you seen this? A huge explosion there yesterday. There it is. There's the video that we want to show you right there, ladies and gentlemen. Huge explosion at the park. Lots of people right there in the area when it happened. Thankfully, no one was hurt. We're going to talk about what scientists say could have caused that explosion yesterday at Yellowstone. It is a Wednesday morning here on the Sunrise Show. Had you seen that before?
No, I have not.
That was a wild video.
That lit up on some of the social media platforms. And if you don't know, Yellowstone is still considered to be one of the largest volcanic complexes in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the big question is this
I've been holding
a
that
sign
in for
of more activity or what's going on?
What is it about what he's saying right now that has you completely choked up?
It's just his tone of voice, really.
Some of the fumes from that video,
I want to
Rod.
pass on the word that she'll be fine.
Fumes from the video got into her throat. Yes. Clear the smoke from that video, please. China is choked.
I'm supposed to be a serious weatherman. All right, here we go. This is the live camera from the Oregon Veterans Home camera out in the Dalles. Right in there, you can see some of the smoke in the gorge, but really the smoke is kind of laid down. This looks smokier earlier on. Wind direction out in the gorge is still west, expected to be pretty much identical to yesterday. Gusts no higher than 25. It's 64 out there. You folks will be up to 90, but starting tomorrow in Wasco County, temps will only be in the lower 80s. Beautiful clear sky start for Portland. We're just now down into the 50s out at PDX at 59, 70 at noon, 83 at 5 o'clock. I mean, Chris, our forecast takes really very little time to put together. Really nice.
And most of us are very appreciative of that, Rod. So let's take you back out to Eastern Oregon, and a reminder, of course, that Interstate 84 is closed again this morning. So the eastbound closure is from Pendleton to Baker City, and then both directions of the freeway are closed from Baker City to Ontario as they continue with that wildfire fighting effort. In fact, you can see they've got the gate closed here at Oregon 201. That's in the Ontario area in Malheur County. So that's a no-go. There are numerous other closures in Eastern Oregon highways as well. Check tripcheck.com as these are updated regularly during this firefighting effort. All right, back to the top deck of the Fremont Bridge. We had a report of some debris on the road there. It looks like traffic is moving along okay. I-5 through North Portland looks good as well. So far, guys, the freeways are in good shape.
All right, Chris, thank you. We are continuing to track wildfires burning across the state. We have a map. There are currently 114 active fires in Oregon, more than 24 in Washington. This map does a good job of showing you just how many fires are across our area.
The one that's burning closest to us here in Portland is the Microwave Tower fire near Mosier. Thomas Schultz is covering this fire for us this morning. So, Thomas, you were in that very spot yesterday morning. 24 hours later, how have conditions improved?
It's remarkable, Drew. I mean, the biggest thing here in this spot yesterday, there was a lot of hot spots. Obviously, you guys remember a lot of smoke out here in Mosier. That's, for the most part, cleared up on this side. But let's show you what that damage looks like. This is a farm. All of this black here, that is just scorched. I mean, you can smell the burnt in the air. Of course, no fire on this side of the mountain today. We talked to some residents over here who say, you know, this is a lot better. They've done a great job. Now it's just kind of the cleanup. There was crews from across the state yesterday here. Some sprayed some retardant up here on the other side of the field. So that area is fine. That's safe. But I mean, this is a fire that spread more than 700 acres at this point, and you can see it's just scorched the earth. There's still little spots of smoke in the air around this area, but for the most part, I mean, it looks a lot better. We showed you just half an hour ago the other side on I-84. There's still some flames pluming up above the freeway over there, but this is a fire that has led to 100 evacuations. 500 more are threatened by these flames, and something that crews have been fighting all day in the past few days. Of course, yesterday, this was a 150-acre fire, went up to 300 acres, and now it's 700 acres. So a lot of progress being made here, still a lot to do. Red Cross has evacuation centers. That's over in Hood River at the middle school there. They've also set up a cooling shelter in Mosier as well. And because of this fire, there's people dealing with power outages too. So still look, they're in the process of working through this, but they're also starting, some at least, are starting to look toward cleanup, while evacuees wait to see if their homes are left standing. So a lot of people just in mixed areas of where they're at with this flame, with this fire, still moving to some extent, moving east down the slope toward I-84. But planes and helicopters with their work yesterday really slowing that fire quite a bit. Crews are expected, they've been out here overnight, they're expected to continue to be out here this morning as they continue to fight this flame. Guys.
All right, Thomas Schultz live for us in Mosier this morning. Meanwhile, Thomas, the largest wildfire in the state right now is in eastern Oregon. And according to the Northwest Interagency Coordination Center, the Durkee fire is now the #1 priority in the entire country. It's covered nearly 240,000 acres since it first started a week ago and is still 0% contained. This fire is growing mostly to the east. We know it's already destroyed one home and is threatening hundreds of others. The fire has also closed, or caused closures, that is, along I-84. Right now, 84 eastbound is closed from Pendleton to Baker City, and in both directions it's closed between Baker City and Ontario. You can get the latest updates at tripcheck.org.
And changes to a key U.S. Forest Service database is giving researchers and fire managers a more fine-tuned look at where and when wildfires could ignite. The latest update adds new factors like that can influence a fire, vegetation, topography, and now also includes things like preparedness levels and distance from the start of the fire to nearby roads. The team that improved the database is from Oregon State and Boise State. They say it's all about probabilities, which can be helpful for predicting wildfire activity.
So it gives people a much better sense of, well, if you're thinking about a particular cause of wildfires, what are the circumstances under which an ignition is, statistically speaking, most likely?
The team says the improved database will help communities prepare, respond, and bounce back from wildfires.
Let's get to some other local headlines we're following this morning, starting in Hillsborough, where a police officer and former head football coach at Westview High School is scheduled to be in court later today. 32-year-old Jamal Jones faces 12 counts of harassment after he was accused of shaking and slapping players awake at an overnight football camp. Jones resigned from Westview after being put on leave from both jobs. He's scheduled to be arraigned at 1:30 this afternoon. Multnomah County Commissioners will hear a proposal tomorrow to address slow ambulance response times. Portland City Council passed a resolution earlier this year that supports a plan to allow AMR to staff its ambulances with a paramedic and an EMT instead of staffing them with 2 paramedics. But Multnomah County Chair Jessica Vega Peterson had refused to let this come up for debate until now, arguing that standards of care would suffer. But commissioners will discuss this plan tomorrow morning.
It sounded like a bomb going off and the whole building shook.
That neighbor is talking about what he heard when a truck crashed into that Southwest Portland apartment complex right there. It happened yesterday afternoon at the Cloverleaf Apartments on Southwest Bertha Boulevard. The crash caused a balcony at the complex to collapse. Police say the driver took off, and it's still not clear if they ever caught the driver. Fortunately, we know no one was hurt. That same neighbor we just heard from told us that this is the 4th time this has happened in just the past 5 years.
All right, take a look at this video of a surprise explosion in Yellowstone National Park. A geyser shot steam, water, rock, and dirt about 100 feet into the air, sent people running for safety yesterday. Yellowstone officials are calling it a hydrothermal explosion. We have pictures of the aftermath as well. The eruption damaged the boardwalk in Biscuit Basin. Luckily, no injuries there, but the basin is now closed for visitor safety. Scientists with Yellowstone Volcano Observatory say that the explosion could have resulted from a clogged passageway of a natural plumbing network underneath the park.
A clogged passageway of a natural plumbing network.
It's nature.
Have you been to Yellowstone before, China?
I have not.
Have you, Rod?
Yes, but not since I was a kid. Long time.
Hasn't changed much. They don't usually mess with the park.
Except for the parkway's a mess now, the walkway.
I think back then, didn't they actually allow people to feed the bears back then?
People fed me, I remember, when I was there.
You're definitely not allowed to feed the bears anymore, but that video is incredible as we see it one more time. Can you imagine if you're just walking along that passageway, heading towards what you think is an innocent geyser, and it explodes like that?
So I'm sure that volcanologists are chomping at the bit to find out further information today. But as you said this earlier in the show, that's one of the largest active volcanic centers in the entire world. And if something would happen there, just ballpark estimates are, it would cool the planet by a good 3 degrees or more.
If the
Really?
volcano,
I've seen estimates as much as 5 to 6 degrees cooling if that volcanic area were to come to life again in the next decade.
the whole park is sitting on a volcano, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, that's an interesting story. It'd be interesting to read if there are any follow-ups on that. Real quick, as I walk over to the weather map, we're just going through all these fire discussions. So you folks in Gillum County, the Lone Creek is your big fire, over 131,000 acres. The containment's 40%. All of the fire discussion for you folks out there in that area watching that fire were good news headlines yesterday. Basically, what I got from reading everything was planned holding features that they had established were simply reinforced. Everything about the winds were as they expected yesterday, so that fire news is good. All these watch and warnings are for high fire danger, for bad air quality, for hot temperatures, and the green are flash flood runoff concerns for afternoon thunderstorms expected today. The burn scar is getting big enough that you have runoff issues potentially. Here is that big fire map. Again, more than 40 named fires. Clearly, Oregon is much more active currently fire-wise than we are up to our neighboring state in Washington. The news is good. Cooler temps by 10 degrees or more taking hold tomorrow, probably into next week, at least through Saturday for central and eastern areas of our state. That means if you're 100 today out around Ontario, for example, you're only going to be 90 tomorrow. If you're in the 90s in Wasco County, you're only going to be about 82 or 83 tomorrow. So the weather looking forward is good, and the wind direction will continue from the west. For days now, fire crews have been working on entrenching good fire lines on the east side of these fires because the west winds come in, they blow everything to the east, and there's good news to report. Okay, this is a thunderstorm showing up right here at 4 o'clock today. There were some 6 new fire starts in Baker County alone yesterday. From thunderstorm activity, so that's a concern. Newport's beautiful. Let's get back to the west side. We're beautiful. That's downtown Portland. Here are the temperatures, and I'll get you the 7-day. Everybody's sunny, coast and valley. Right now it's 59 in Portland, and our 7-day really hasn't changed. This comfortable weather pattern, 83 today will equal yesterday, and we're comfortable all the way into next week. How do you do? That is your update.